Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Super Black. We are your host, Carl,
And I'm Dan.
and today we are talking about a long awaited character, none other than Miles Morales, your Spider Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Brooklyn Spider-Man.
Yeah. Uh, I just want to ask a quick question. When you originally heard about Miles Morales, what was your initial reaction?
It made sense. Of course, I was a little wary, but when I got into the first couple issues and started reading about the character, it was one of those situations where it just made me smile to see that such a prolific, iconic character has my face.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there was no, and on top of that, he was being written very, very well. It was too bad that it was in the Ultimate Universe, but at the same time, let's say it made me happy. Every single comic book I sat down and read, Brian Michael Bendis did such a great job putting this character together.
I like your reference to a character that has your face, which is basically the crux of what Super Black is all about, is finding characters that you can celebrate and kind of identify with, no matter what age you are. And I think that was my original thought. I was like, oh, they're having a dark skinned Spider-Man. That's cool. I've never, thought that Spider-Man had to be anyone but Peter Parker, but I was like, oh, I'm interested. And then I saw him and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then the more unique touches I saw on like his outfit and then his kind of move set, his mentality, he really came into his own as a character. And then I remember seeing a young boy dressed as Miles Morales for Halloween, and it warmed the dark the dark veins in my heart. And I was like, oh, like that boy now has a superhero to identify with, one that's like has a lot of history behind him. Um, when I believe Peter Parker, if you guys haven't read about Miles Morales, Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man in Miles Morales' universe, sacrifices his life to save Miles's family from Osborn, and that's the catalyst for Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man. He has the powers prior to that, and he's like, I just want to be a normal kid. He sees the actual Spider-Man die for him, basically, and says, well, great power comes great responsibility. Now I'm going to be Spider-Man. And so there is a connection to this long lineage of, you know, the blue and red tights, and he picks up the mantle fairly well.
Yeah, well, it's like there was some stumbling blocks, like any up and coming superhero, and I think one of his tipping points, one of the changing points, who this character was, is when he actually got a chance to interact with Peter Parker from Earth 616.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody remembers that story, but just to catch you up, somehow Peter Parker from 616 found his way to the Ultimate Universe, and it was this team up that I never thought that I'd ever see happen. But after reading it, understanding that this needed to happen, it was kind of Peter Parker officially passing the mantle to this child and showing him the ropes and letting Miles Morales know that he wasn't alone. You know, and it was a really poignant moment, like going through that book and and really sitting with that series and let it all sink in, and not knowing that I wanted it, but after reading, I was like, okay, this needed to happen.
Yeah. I haven't read too many Miles Morales stories. Um, I have the original like big compendium of the first couple issues.
Mm-hmm.
I read that, and then I fell off due to other books coming into my life or whatever. But just hearing the rumblings about what people are doing with him, like him being a part of like what is it, the New Avengers, and I think some group called the Champions, where it's all just younger versions or updated versions of classic heroes like Amadeus Chow. We have to do an episode about that guy. I love that guy. Nova, Cyclops, and everyone's favorite Kamala Khan. So they've paired Miles with this new generation of older heroes. This I don't know. I don't want to say it's like I guess it's the younger class, but they're like picking up the mantles of older heroes and you know walking their own path. And it's a very if anyone ever takes a look at the champions, it's a very diverse group of people. There's a big green guy. There's a young brown girl. There's a black Spider-Man. There's someone who looks like Starfire. I don't know who that is, but it's a it's an interesting picture. Maybe I'll post it on the site. So just for reference on Miles Morales as a character, if you've never seen Miles Morales and you have no idea what to look for, if you're in a comic book store or if it's Halloween and you're looking to see what kind of Spider-Man are out there, just look for the Spider-Man with the black costume
Yep.
and giant red accents. Dan, question.
Yes.
How do
Go
you
ahead.
feel about the black Spider-Man having a black costume?
I'm down for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's to me it reminds me of Spider-Man's old black costume.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it was a good way for Marvel to add something to the silhouette because you really couldn't keep him in the original Spider-Man costume. It's like Kobe Bryant wearing 23. It doesn't really make sense in my head. Like he needs his own number, and this is Miles Morales' way of getting his own number.
Mm-hmm. If you
And
can wait, if you can redesign his costume, his initial costume, let's say he gets the pajamas, the Spider-Man pajamas, and he's like, I need my own suit, and they gave you the pencil. Um, this is going to be a tiny little Forge episode inside of a regular episode. They handed you the pencil and said, draw what Miles Morales' new costume looks like. You have full range. All colors are open to you.
mhm.
All design options. Off the top of your head, what would you love to draw and see?
The costume design really wouldn't change. The only thing, and this is me just being me, I would give him toe socks as opposed to sneakers on his feet.
Hmm.
It's always been a personal design choice of myself, just Spider-Man in general. Like for that character to be able to stick to walls and be very tactile, he needs his toes and fingers to move and bend in ways that would able him to stick to certain things. Other than that, the costume is I don't see anything I need to change about
Hmm. Interesting.
it. Yeah.
I would put a Letterman's jacket on him. I'd give him a nice pair of boots, stomping boots, so his kicks have a little more oomph. I would wrap his hands, so he has like the costume has the gloves or whatever, and then I would wrap the outside of his hands. When he punches, he doesn't hurt his fingers.
He's super strong as it is. He
Or he'd web them,
regenerates.
or he'd web them. I'm just character designing at this point. I would web his hands, so he actually just webs his hands, so it's like boxing gloves, like the tape under boxing gloves. And then I'd have him put the collar up on his Letterman's jacket, so he has pockets, so he can always kind of stand and chill. Not like
What
not in like in some cool way, but just like I need to do something with my hands. Because think about it, when
what
you're
what does his
Spider-Man,
Letterman's jacket say though? Like
just
it's
a
just
big
as a big
S.
spider?
No, just to put a big S on it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's Superman.
No, Superman has a very specific S. It means hope. Remember, I would put
Uh,
like an actual.
or river, a running river, or something like that.
No, just put an S. Just or how about this? You put an M for Miles. MM.
No, because you're not supposed to know who he is. That's what
So
rules
then
the
put
map.
the S.
No, it has to be a spider. Has to be a spider.
It doesn't have to be a spider.
Yes, it did.
Look,
Yes,
no one
Spider-Man.
told you that.
Spider-Man.
No one said anything about your toe socks. You leave my Letterman's jacket alone. It's a big S, and that's what it is.
Uh-huh.
But he would have the black suit underneath, right? But then the jacket is red with blue accents to pay homage to Peter Parker.
I
And
mean,
then
similar to Enter the Spider-Verse.
uh
Got the hoodie, you got the Air Force Ones.
Oh yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. Except
Mhm.
instead of the hoodie, which is more, I feel, an aggressive look, like he's kind of trying to hide. He's not hiding. He's actually just wearing, maybe he's cold or whatever. And I just want him to have a way to stand where his hands, where he's not in a constant state of like spidering. You notice when you draw Spider-Man, he's always like contorting his body in some odd fashion.
That's very true.
He's never just sort of standing. So if you were to stand Spider-Man straight up, what would he do with his hands?
I literally just started looking pictures of that just to see what you're talking about. And yeah, Spider-Man has to be in a spider pose in every single way. But like Miles Morales, he has the typical standing superhero pose where his arms are straight down with balls in his fists.
Yeah, and exactly. So he's a kid, right? So he would need kids like to be kind of funky and awkward, kind of. They don't know what to do with their body yet.
I
So
mean,
if you give him,
he can web pockets to his side if he needs them. If he
but
needs to stand, just web pockets to his side. He's good to go.
but then I go back to your original statement uh, way early on.
Fine. I'll
He
give
needs
him
a silhouette. He needs a good silhouette, right?
I'll give him web pockets.
You'd give him wet pockets.
Yes, I'll give him pockets. Put his hands in. It's like if we need to go down that road, he needs to put his hands in something to keep him busy.
Hey, if you want to give him web pockets, your version with the toe stuff can have the web pocket. You don't put no web pockets on my guy. He has a nice jacket. He's a nice
Fine,
jacket.
fine.
All right, let's get back on track. um, I actually did lose my train of thought. Right. So let's just turn the train around and start with Miles Morales' powers versus Peter Parker's. So Peter Parker has all the enhancements that everyone knows about. He has super strength. He's fast. He can heal really quick. He can jump really high. He can climb walls. He's built web shooters, and he has his spider sense. All right. So what does Miles Morales have? He has all of that.
Plus, he has camouflage, and he has the Venom sting, which doesn't actually have venom. It's more of electrical pulse that when he touches people, so that they shock and they pass out.
He has all these kind of extra accoutrements. Do you feel like that was to differentiate him more, and did it work? Like I don't know how
Oh,
I feel about all the new powers, but
absolutely. I mean, it's like when you're revamping a character, when you're building off of something old, you want to add a few little tips, a few little tricks here and there. You want to trick them out, and that was a good way of doing that. Because we didn't really touch upon his origin just yet, but I guess we'll just jump into that now, where he had, his origin was pretty much the same as Peter Parker. He got bitten by another spider that was in the same experiment that the spider that bit Peter Parker came from. So it just so happens that other spider had, a different serum or a different type of experimentation that gave him similar powers and then some.
I don't think it was the same
Yeah,
experiment. I
yes,
think
it
it
was.
was. I think it was um
The
Norman.
spider got out. It's like the
Uh,
spider got out and it bit him.
but wasn't it? It was Norman Osborn's spider. Like it had a completely different formula that they were testing out in it. I think it was
I got it.
the Oz
I,
formula,
mm-hmm.
the one that the side effect is quote unquote possible immortality.
Hmm.
We had a short conversation about
Yes.
if that is an actual feature or a side effect. I was on the side of like, hey man, do you want to be immortal? And your take was more like
Nope.
this
Not at
drug
all.
this drug is gonna cure your headache. Side effects may include blah 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 and immortality.
Exactly. Like immortality is not a fun thing for me to think about. I don't
Yeah.
want to. Yeah, we can get to the existential conversation some other time. But Carl thinks it's a feature. I think it's a bug.
What do you guys think? Leave us a comment. Is Miles Morales' potential immortality a blessing or a curse?
I
Uh,
think it'd be a blessing for the first like 200 years. You just get bored after that.
Yeah, it depends on where the console game is at that point. Oh, he'd have a PC at that point. He could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, but at that point, we'd be living in virtual reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to couple on top of Miles Morales' origin, he does get bit by a spider, but it has Oz formula in it, which is what gives him these extra abilities. Um, my and my only concern is that this other formula gave him all of Spider-Man's abilities plus new ones. I don't know how it replicated the exact same abilities. And how many spiders did how many people have been bitten by random spiders from these places?
Well,
And do they
that's the
all
thing.
get Spider-Man powers?
See, that's the thing. It was like, we can answer all those questions just by saying comics. Simply just comics. Because if they ever need somebody else to be bitten by a spider, they'll throw that person out there. They'll create that story. They'll branch off in some way, shape, or form. I'm not worried about it. This is something a point I was going to touch upon before we started recording. But like, it makes sense that there's more than one spider. It makes sense that Peter Parker probably wasn't even the first one they experimented on. It takes me back to like Captain America, Red, White, and Black, where the super serum was experimented on. It's like the Tuskegee experiments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else got bitten by a spider beforehand, is living in some deep, dark laboratory somewhere, just growing fangs and hanging from a ceiling in a cocoon somewhere, or just dead bodies buried on a farm way upstate.
That's dark.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
You went
Sorry.
you Dan went down the deep dark hole. Let's pull him back with some
I'm coming.
positivity with more Miles Morales background. So, one interesting fact about Miles Morales that you may know if you're listening to this and you watched Spider-Man Homecoming is that he is related to a character known as Aaron Davies, which was played by Donald Glover in the
Who, if you, it's like, in my personal opinion, was the crux, was the genesis of Miles Morales, where they were trying to reboot Spider-Man back in the day, and people kept saying, it's like, Donald Glover would be a great Peter Parker. Donald Glover would be a great Spider-Man. And there's a small push for that, and then got killed, and Andrew Garfield got that role, and then all of a sudden, well, Miles Morales pops up, and those stories start coming to fruition and start building on that character. And too bad Donald Glover aged out of that character. And Spider-Man Homecoming was their way of kind of like giving their nod to Donald Glover. It's like, hey, you're not Spider-Man, but you're Spider-Man's uncle.
exactly. He's still tangentially connected to Spider-Man.
And he did voice Spider-Man on the cartoon series,
He did.
Miles Morales.
He did.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is he can still be a Spider-Man. He would just be the Iron Spider.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so you might have to school me on this one. Is the Iron Spider black, or this is for the sake of recasting?
No. The Iron Spider, Aaron Davies was once the Iron Spider. He was Prowler. That was the character I was getting to.
Okay.
And he became Iron Spider as well.
Okay.
He buys the armor off the black market. So,
oh my God, I'm falling behind.
Yeah, so there could be a potential Homecoming spinoff where Miles Morales has to fight Donald Glover's Aaron Davies as Iron Spider versus Ultimate Spider-Man. I don't know what you would call Miles Morales' version.
It'd be Ultimate Spider-Man.
That's his not full background, but you get a sense of where he's from. He is from Brooklyn. Whoop whoop.
Brooklyn.
Hometown. I love it. He's a 13-year-old kid when he gets his powers. And I think the one thing that he has going against him is that he's so young and so inexperienced, kind of like the original Peter Parker is. He just doesn't know what he's doing, and he has way too much power. It's the old Spider-Man trope. He's back in the saddle. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to fight necessarily. I think he has a fear of heights as well. So climbing buildings is a problem. But I implore you, if you are at all interested in Miles Morales or Donald Glover, whatever, go look into the Miles Morales versions in the cartoons, and of course pick up the books at your local comic book store. Um,
Even if you pick up the first couple of arcs, there's such great stories. I like I mentioned before, Brian Michael Bendis knows his stuff, knows how to write characters, and knows how to tell a very, very good story. And he makes his characters so real and so wonderful all at the same time. Can we talk about Genki on top of that as well?
of course.
Say I always thought that was weird. I thought it was a weird little cheat where they turned Genki into Ned on Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Hmm.
Because Genki was such a great character in the comic books, such a great not foil but great great friend to Miles Morales, and it just made more sense in my head that they'd be friends. And I feel as if they ever do have a Miles Morales Spider-Man movie, live action movie, you're taking that almost sidekick away from Miles Morales.
Doing him a disservice.
Yes, thank you. You're doing him a disservice.
Hmm. Well, they can get around that in unique way. I mean, they can always write him a new, well-written sidekick. Give him,
Knock on wood.
yeah, give,
Hopefully.
give him a girlfriend. Give him a boyfriend. Do
Mhm.
whatever you want to do. There's tons of things they could do. Because
Yeah, I
I
say,
did enjoy Ned. He was a nice addition to that movie.
mhm. And that goes to show like how well that character and how fleshed out that world was. That Marvel was like, hey, this character is so good, we need to rename him and bring him into the actual Spider-Man Peter Parker universe.
So to transition a little bit into kind of what sparked the reason we wanted to talk about Miles Morales is the trailer for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the animated Marvel movie coming out this Christmas. It came out quite a while ago, but we just never spoke about it. But
Mhm.
I know we wanted to kind of get our thoughts down about this wonderfully animated trailer. I mean, jeez, let's just hop into it.
I I can't wait to see this in 3D.
I am
I
so
I
excited.
I am not a 3D movie going person, but I cannot wait to strap on my 3D goggles and sit and watch this beautiful, beautiful, making me scared of heights cinematic. Like I hope the trailer is just a small spattering of what's actually to come. The only thing I'm worried about is they don't spend enough time in Miles Morales' universe. Because when I thought Enter the Spider Verse, I thought it was okay. We're going to spend this movie just focusing on Miles Morales and his interaction with Peter Parker, and then jump off the universe into another movie. But it looks like they have Gwen Stacy's character and also Spider-Man Noir, played by Nicolas Cage, who's also making an appearance. So like I don't know how I feel about that, but the trailer itself is so beautiful, so well put together.
I saw the trailer and my jaw was I didn't realize my mouth was just open watching it, but it's basically everything that I love about fictional characters and comic books and all this stuff brought to life on screen. Like there's a frame where there's a nice little scene that they cut into the trailer where Miles Morales bumps into somebody and he's running towards the camera, and there are the yellow thought bubble panels kind of floating
Mm-hmm.
in midair as he runs by to kind of give context to what he's thinking or what's being said. And I think that is just a beautiful way of bringing a comic book to life. Like it's immediately recognizable to anyone who's grown up or even in passing has picked up a comic book. So the visuals are just stunning, and I
Kinetic
it's
without being overwhelming.
yes,
That's like the colors are so vibrant and the movements are so precise and dynamic.
it
But
makes
I
it look
never
like
felt overwhelmed
Neo New
watching it.
York. It makes it look
Yeah,
like Neo New
yes,
York.
yes, exactly.
It just looks great. The voice acting sounds amazing, and the humor of it is really interesting as well. Like having Miles' dad um, kind of just poke and prod at him as he drops him off for school.
And not only that, the voice of Peter Parker was just spot on, especially for that iteration of Peter Parker, like an older, gray hair, still doesn't have his life together, and he's a slob, and he's played by the guy from New Girl, and what's his
Jake
name?
Johnson.
Thank you, Jake Johnson. If you're listening, Jake Johnson, I'm sorry. You're one of my favorite actors ever. I think you're so funny, but I'm very bad with names.
No, you don't have to apologize to him. I bet he gets it all the time. But But Jake Johnson, if you're listening, I didn't forget your name. So
I'm very much, very, very, very much looking forward to it. I cannot wait.
I we've had this conversation, but DC is usually on point with their animated films. They're always super well done, way better than their live action films. Not to take anything away from those movies, but DC just understands how to do animated features. This Spider Verse is gonna give them a run for their money. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like it's so different and so unique that it can live in its own kind of world of animation.
Sony did something here that I'm very, very interested in seeing.
Yeah. And not to be outdone, I mean, Miles is in the media. He's all over the place these days. The PS4 game Marvel's Spider-Man has Miles Morales in it. And I haven't researched what role he's playing. I haven't picked up the game, but hopefully it's a deep role and I would love to see Miles in costume in the game.
Well, this may be miles spoilers, mild spoilers, but Peter Parker is pretty much his mentor throughout this game. It's not only a Spider-Man game; it's a Peter Parker movie. Watching how he interacts with Mary Jane and the other characters in Miles Morales is pretty inspired for a video game.
Awesome.
So I can't wait.
Sweet. So let's end the show there. Actually, final thoughts on Miles Morales. Anything else you want to get off your chest about this character? Some final notes for the people listening.
I want to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want to see him pop up in some way, shape, or form. Like I know Peter Parker needs to be there for a while. He has now become the heart of that universe. But I feel as if that representation is needed. If you're going to steal Genki, make up for it by throwing Miles Morales in there.
If I can go back in time, I would cast the guy from Everyone Hates Chris as Miles Morales.
Yes. It's like for a while I was thinking the kid from Blackish, the eldest son,
mm-hmm.
before he hit that growth spurt.
Thank you all for listening to Super Black. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. It's in the show notes. Do I have to say it?
Yes, you do. Of course, you have to say it.
Okay, everyone, please follow us on social media. You can follow Super Black on Instagram and Twitter at superblack.org. You can follow Dan at
the_basement_monster or at the Carnival Prince.
Of course, head over to superblack.co and listen to the other wonderful episodes of our show. Thank you all for listening.
Until next time, guys.
Full stop.